Good day, everyone. I just wanted to drop by and talk a little bit about the weather. That is Helene, or that was Helene. It is still here. It's still providing a little bit of moisture for us, a little bit of rainfall. So far today, we've gotten about a tenth of an inch of rain. Not a lot, which is to be expected. Um, the maximum I would expect any of us to see today would be about a quarter of an inch. And then tomorrow should be a little less, and Tuesday should be a little less. And then finally, Tuesday evening will be a nice little cold front that will cool us down just a degree or three and help sweep out the moisture so it's not quite as wet and humid. Okay, let's talk about Helene. This hurricane is historic, without a doubt. It is the first hurricane to impact Kentucky in a tropical storm state in over 45 years. It is one of the most powerful hurricanes to rake through this area, or not just this area, but North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia. It's one of the most powerful ever. It intensified from a Category 1 to a Category 4 in only one day. Now, the reason for that is the um, Gulf of Mexico waters are so incredibly warm in the upper 80s, which is not unheard of this time of year. But what is different now is instead of it just being hot on the surface of the water, the Gulf of Mexico is hot deep down into the water. So when a hurricane comes through, it churns and stirs the water, and that can, in general, slow down a hurricane and change its behavior. Whereas if it's really, really warm deep down, it can also intensify it faster. We saw that this hurricane had 140-mile an hour winds when it made landfall. That's the strongest hurricane ever to impact the Big Bend of Florida. I know we're not hearing a ton about that area, but I am sure devastation was unbelievable. Um, I'm sure over the next few days we'll hear more and more news about that. It did cause a lot of massive inland flooding, not only from storm surge, but intense amounts of rain. In fact, there were places in North Carolina that it actually dropped 16 to 20 inches of rain. And in North Carolina, western North Carolina, and eastern Tennessee, the damage was absolutely intense. It's just devastating. It's going to be weeks upon weeks upon weeks, maybe even months before they get things back to normal. Um, the electricity, cell phones, data all took a hit all the way up here. I'm not the only person that complained on Facebook about cell service being bad. Well, the reason it was bad is because the towers were down. They had actually caused damage to towers. I literally had to drive all the way to Mount Sterling and sit about 200 foot away from the tower in order to get enough data signal to do my weather reports. I mean, that's just the way it goes. There's just not, when you've only got one tower supplying 50,000 people, you don't have very much signal. You don't have very much service. And when those towers go down, you lose everything. Um, the electricity I know is still out in a lot of places in Powell County, Montgomery County, all the surrounding area. There's just thousands and thousands and thousands of people still out, and new places going out as we speak. I know some places here in Mount Sterling went out a few minutes ago because they have to cut the power to those places in order to hook up new material, new transformers, etc. in other places. Literally thousands of wires down throughout the state. I thought I heard them say 3,000 poles earlier on the news, but I don't think that was right. I do know that Clark and LG&E and KU and all of them are talking. The numbers right now don't do it justice, because as they go to individual houses and find more and more damage, then more and more data will be poured in. So let's talk a little bit about um, some of these areas in western North Carolina and eastern Tennessee. The interstates took an absolutely devastating hit in some of these places. This is I-40 on the left and I-26 on the right. Just an immense amount of destruction. The road here is covered. I know it's hard to see in this picture. I don't remember if I've got another one up. But the road here is covered by 10, 12 feet of mud and rock. And then the road here, well, it's gone. It doesn't exist anymore. So you're talking months and months and months to recirculate, or not recirculate, but redevelop and move the roads to a better location. These are interstates. In fact, all roads, as of this morning, all roads into Asheville, North Carolina, were flooded or damaged and closed. Folks, I don't think I've ever heard of that before. Asheville is a major city, but that's what we've got. The small town of Chimney Rock in North Carolina was basically destroyed. I mean, it was there, and then it's gone. It's gone. It's not damaged, but gone. The vast majority of buildings is gone. This brings to mind southeast Kentucky a couple of years ago, Yellowstone, Red Lodge, Cook City area in Wyoming 2 or 3 years ago as well. Just absolutely immense flood events. That's what you get when you have climate change. You have extreme swings in these events that occur. Just extreme swings. So here is some stats for Kentucky and all around the nation where this hurricane made landfall. The rainfall totals here in Kentucky ranged from about 3.5 up to around 6.5. I know I got 6 on here, but my friend told me that he got a little over 6.5 inches in western Kentucky. Or not western Kentucky, sorry, down near Frankfort. So I think 6.5 is a pretty accurate number. I know right here at home, we've got 3.83, I believe it was. I can tell you, well, no, I can't. It's not on. But we got a lot too. That's at least that's a good amount of rain, I suppose, to help ease the drought numbers. If you remember back about a month ago, I was worried about forest fires. I don't guess we have to worry about that for a while. Okay. Now, a lot of you kept asking me, what's going on? What do you mean? Why did you allude to something? Well, this is from the National Hurricane Center, and this orange right here is between a 40 and 60% chance that another tropical system will develop in the same place that Helene developed and take virtually the same path. That's from the National Hurricane Center. 40 to 60% likelihood. Let's just average it out and say 50% chance that it will develop in the next week. That's pretty good odds. Obviously, there are 2 hurricanes out here in the Atlantic, but they're going to be fishy storms. They're not going to change their path much. And I honestly don't think these 2 will either, because we've got enough steering winds to keep them out in the ocean, at least right now. But we'll see as time goes on. Right now, all of the mid-range computer models, and you hear me talk a lot about models, all of these mid-range models, well, let me explain what I mean there. You have short-range models that only cover the next 24 hours or so. You have mid-range models that cover the next week to week and a half, maybe 2 weeks. Then you've got really long-range models that do a broad picture and cover maybe the next month. And then you've got the extended models that cover 2, 3, 4 months. And basically all those are our guesses. So, right now, all the mid-range models agree that there will be a storm form. Every model, all 3 of them that are these mid-range models, all 3 agree there's going to be a storm. But what they don't agree on is the exact placement of said storm, and what it's going to do with a cold front that may or may not happen to be there at the time. This, by the way, is next weekend. Close. It's Monday, October 7th. So here you see, this is the Euro model, the European model, and you can see that there is a tropical development down here in the Gulf of Mexico. It's fairly weak and a little bit disorganized to be a hurricane. So it is some sort of a tropical storm system or something like that. And it does get linked up with the cold front, as you can see, and eventually it just sweeps it across Florida as a group of thunderstorms. That's this model. This is the GFS. And I'm going to go in depth on the GFS a little bit more here in a few minutes. But all the models disagree on exactly the placement of these storms and where and when they come in and where they go once they do come in. But the GFS has a really strong system, and it does take a similar path to what Helene did. And I'll show you more about that one in a second. This one is the Canadian model. I don't guess I put it on there, but this is the Canadian model. And, oh yeah, there it is. It has a path across Florida. It's a fairly strong system, but as you can see, because of the 2 blobs, doesn't recognize it as a hurricane. So it may or may not develop as a hurricane. And I'm not saying it's 100% set in stone on any of this, because, folks, this is still 6 or 7 days out. It could not even form. But the models are suggesting it. Okay, so let's look closer at the GFS. Now, this is, let me see if I can zoom in just a little bit for us. Nope, that didn't work. Okay, let's go back. This is the GFS model, and I've got it queued up to about midweek or so of this week, and we should have some really nice weather. It'll be fairly sunny, maybe even close to 80 degrees for a couple of days. I don't want it, but, it may be that. Now, I'm just going to advance along, and you can see right down here, this is a system that it develops. And as I advance it along, you can see that it is a very well organized low. That means it's a hurricane. The numbers on it are not as low as Helene's were. Okay, so looking at this, you can see that this hurricane is strong on this model, but it never gets down to that 950 or so that Helene did. And as I slowly advance this along in days, you can see the path that it takes is virtually the same. Now, that is this current run of this model. Does it mean that this is set in stone? No, it doesn't. And eventually, it hooks up with this cold front here that's coming across the area and combines somewhere over eastern Kentucky with that cold front. That ushers it on up to the north and out fairly quickly. And then that one is gone. There is some evidence that maybe another one will form down there, as evident by how green the moisture is, how deep that green is down here. That's telling us that there may be some more activity, but it's too far out for this model to pick up on. All right, so that's a lot of information that I have put out there. If you all have any questions, feel free to shoot me a message on Facebook. I will try to answer it. I don't always see them when you put them on here, but if you do put a message on the YouTube video, I will try to at least answer it at some point in time. All right, and folks, I sure do appreciate you for watching my little old videos. I just wanted to share all this information with you and ask, if you don't mind, give it a thumbs up when you're done. And folks, always remember, Jesus loves you, and so do I. Have a wonderful day.